I have my pilgrim's hat on today as a reminder of the wonderful tradition that we have in the United States, celebrating on the fourth Thursday of November, Thanksgiving Day. It's a wonderful tradition that we have as Americans to remind ourselves to be thankful. Sometimes traditions can get in the way, though. Maybe I should take off my hat right now. Sometimes traditions can become more important than people themselves. Jesus warned of such a problem in Matthew chapter 15. So you look at this passage, I want you to think about what is in your heart. The Pharisees and scribes come to Jesus. They come up from Jerusalem saying, "Why is it that your disciples break the tradition of the elders? That is, they don't wash their hands when they eat their bread." Jesus, as is often his case when he's asked a question, he answers the question by asking another question. He says, verse 3 of Matthew 15, "Why do you yourselves transgress the commandment of God for the sake of your tradition?" And then Jesus confronts them with tradition they have of declaring certain things, possessions, as being dedicated to God and therefore inviolable. They can't be shared or given. In other words, if they had parents, for example, who were needy, they would say, "Oh, we can't help our parents because this object, this thing, this treasure has been dedicated to God." Jesus said, "For God said, 'Honor your father and mother, and he who speaks evil of father or mother is to be put to death.' But you say, 'Whoever says to his mother or father, whatsoever I have that would help has been given to God.' And by this you invalidated the word of God for the sake of your tradition." Then Jesus calls them the H name. Verse 7, "You hypocrites, rightly did Isaiah prophesy of you. This people honors me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. But in vain do they worship me, teaching as doctrines the precepts of men." Jesus talked about the hypocrisy of having a walk that did not match the talk. Verse 10, Jesus called the crowd to him. He said to them, "Hear and understand. It's not what enters into the mouth that defiles the man," answering the charge that the Pharisees had about not washing their hands before they eat bread. "It's not what enters into the mouth that defiles the man, but what proceeds out of the mouth that defiles the man." Jesus clarifies it, verse 18, "But the things that proceed out of the mouth come from the heart, and those defile the man. For out of the heart come evil thoughts, murders, adulteries, fornications, thefts, false witness, slanders. These are the things that defile the man. But to eat with unwashed hands does not defile the man." It's what's in the heart that's important. Then the rest of the chapter talks about two miracles that Jesus performs, one very personal miracle, one for a great crowd of people. Starting with verse 21, it talks about the Canaanite woman who comes to Jesus begging, asking Jesus, "Have mercy on me, Lord, Son of David. My daughter is cruelly demon-possessed." Jesus, as he so often does, is seeking to draw faith, a faith response out of the woman. Verse 23 tells us he didn't even answer a word, and the disciples came and implored him, saying, "Send her away." Disciples had that kind of attitude. Remember when Jesus fed the multitude of the 5,000, he wanted Jesus to send the people away then. Verse 24, Jesus again trying to draw faith not only out of the disciples, but even especially out of this Canaanite woman, says, I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel, she being a Canaanite woman. But she came and began to bow down before him, saying, Lord, help me. Peter remembered that cry when he had uttered the same words or similar to them when he was drowning in the sea, when he had sought to walk on the water with Jesus. He cried out then, Lord, save me. Verse 26, Jesus answered and said, It's not good to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs. But she said, Yes, Lord, but even the dogs feed on the crumbs which fall from their master's table. Jesus now, having pulled faith out of the woman, or at least pulling it out of her that she would express that faith. Verse 28, Jesus said to her, O woman, your faith is great. It should be done for you as you wish. And her daughter was healed at once. And then the rest of the chapter, the closing verses of the chapter, talk about Jesus being in the midst of a large crowd. They brought to him those who were lame, crippled, blind, mute, and many others, and they laid them down at his feet, and he healed them. The crowd marveled. And Jesus called his disciples to him, verse 32, and said, I feel compassion for the people because they've remained with me now 3 days and have nothing to eat. And I do not want to send them away hungry, for they might faint on the way. The disciples said to him, Where would we get so many loaves in this desolate place to feed such a large crowd? Remember, Matthew's already recorded for us on another similar instance. Jesus fed 5,000 men plus women and children in a so-called desolate place. Jesus said, Well, how many loaves do you have? And they said, well, verse 34, 7, and a few small fish. Jesus took the loaves and the fish, and giving thanks, he broke them and started giving them to the disciples, and the disciples gave to the people, and they all ate and were satisfied. And they picked up what was left over, the broken pieces, 7 large baskets full. And those who ate were 4,000 men, besides women and children. When I look at these stories of these 2 miracles of the Canaanite woman's daughter being healed and feeding this multitude, the question again becomes, what is in your heart? I'm reminded of the song, I'll give him my heart. What kind of giving, poor as I am? If I were a shepherd, I'd bring him a lamb. If I were a wise man, I'd sure do my part. So what can I give him? I'll give him my heart. The video below is a song sung by a child. What is in your heart? The child responds, I'll give him